Victoria's state budget was handed down this week, revealing Victorians will be Australia's highest taxpayers. Joining us live now to discuss it is Victorian Liberal MP Tim Smith. Tim, thanks for joining us on your Saturday afternoon. Firstly, what's your reaction to the budget?
Well, good afternoon, Gabriella. Well, that was an horrendous budget that Tim Pallas brought down last week. So different to the federal budget that was brought down by Josh Frydenberg 2 weeks ago. The federal budget had no new taxes, no increased taxes. Yet the Victorian government has made Victorians the highest taxpayers in Australia, slugging home buyers and businesses an extra $6 billion in taxes. This is the absolute worst time you could possibly increase taxes as we fight to come out of the COVID recession that was so much worse in Melbourne because of the second lockdown. I mean, the Andrews Labor government don't have a plan post-COVID. All they have a plan to do is increase taxes on Victorians at the worst possible time. You can't tax your way to prosperity. And unfortunately, this very left-wing socialist Labor government here in Victoria are economic vandals, whacking up taxes on families, on home buyers and businesses at the worst possible time.
It's been revealed today that Vice-Chancellors are scrambling to get a meeting with Tim Pallas, as universities are going to be hit with millions more with these taxes. Do you think that it's fair to them?
Well, universities and higher education providers across Australia are doing it very hard at the moment because clearly no foreign students can come to Australia, and particularly so in Melbourne. Overseas education is Victoria's largest export, most lucrative export. So I can see why the Vice-Chancellors are terribly distressed about this tax hike on them. I mean, Tim Pallas didn't even know, the State Treasurer here in Victoria, Tim Pallas, didn't even know that payroll tax was levied on universities. He had no idea what he was talking about. And this is the problem with this Andrews government here in Victoria more broadly. They don't really understand the harm that these tax hikes will do to the higher education sector, to the construction sector, to the property sector, and to families and small businesses right across the board. But yet again, they've attacked another lucrative sector of the Victorian economy. They've whacked home buyers, they've whacked the property sector. These are very important parts of the Victorian economy, and this tax attack by Labor is smashing our economy at the worst possible time when we should be stimulating growth, not penalising growth. And that's what's unlike what Josh Frydenberg's been doing, which is essentially stimulating the Australian economy with no new taxes, increased spending, so we can get through this COVID period and come out the other side with more jobs, more investment and more growth. That's not what's going to be happening in Melbourne. You'll see mass capital flight out of Melbourne because of Labor's wrecking budget.
Their plan, though, is to fund mental health. Isn't that a positive?
Look, yes, mental health is a massive issue, and we all know the important investments that need to take place to improve our mental health system, particularly after the country's longest lockdown due to COVID last year, a 4-month-long lockdown caused by the incompetence of the Andrews Labor government. But yes, mental health is a massive issue, but it doesn't need to be stigmatised any further with a new tax. This should be funded out of recurrent revenue. And frankly, had the Andrews Labor government not blown the budget before COVID, they should have been able to afford these important improvements to the mental health system here in Victoria. No other state's doing this. No other state is increasing taxes. The Commonwealth is reducing taxes. The only government in the country that's stupid enough to increase taxes at a time when we're coming out of a COVID recession, where we're fighting tooth and nail to get Melbourne CBD back on its feet, the Andrews Labor government whacks a new tax on 9,000 businesses. Well, I just don't think that's acceptable. And business organisations and business leaders, I mean, Chris Lucas said this week it was a kick in the guts. It is a kick in the guts. Business doesn't need to be foisted with new taxes, and this mental health levy is wrong.
So would mental health still be as much as a priority for a Liberal state government?
Of course, mental health is a big issue in our community. We know this. And you only need to look at what the federal government is doing in this space. The federal budget invested significantly in mental health. But a mental health tax at a time when we're trying to stimulate jobs growth is not the right path. It's not the right approach. And I think most Victorians would expect, as mental health is a core component of what a state government should be doing, it should be funded from recurrent revenue. And this budget was in deficit well before COVID hit. And so had they been responsible economic managers here in Victoria, they should have been able to afford reforms to the mental health system.
Tim, just quickly, we've just got about a minute left, but it's been revealed that ice will be allowed in Melbourne's second injecting room in the CBD. What's your reaction? Do you support this?
No, not at all, Gabriella, not at all. I think the idea of having a second injecting centre in the heart of Melbourne's CBD in Flinders Street, when our CBD is still, comparatively speaking, a ghost town, as we're trying to increase investment, jobs and business activity in the CBD, to have a new injection centre foisted on those businesses that did it so hard last year and are struggling to recover from last year is economic lunacy from the Andrews government. And I just think that they need to reconsider this ASAP, because it is exactly the wrong thing to do for Melbourne CBD that's still nowhere near back to where it was before COVID.
Tim Smith, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gabriella.